In this video, we are talking about the cybersecurity mindset. What is it? Why is it important? And how can you use it to be a more effective cybersecurity professional? Coming up. Hey everybody, welcome to Simply Cyber. The security mindset is a worldview. It's an idea of how you perceive, interactions of everyday life, systems, applications, processes, etc. And thinking like cognizantly of what types of risks and vulnerabilities might be present. Now, a lot of people who have worked in cybersecurity for a while kind of just do this second nature. And I don't want to say they take it for granted, but it's just like, it's just part of their existence. But if you're new to the field or you don't quite work in the field yet, it's important to be cognizant of what that mindset is. So today we're going to be talking with Jeremey Robinson, who's a lawyer and a cybersecurity practitioner in our industry, about that mindset. And really more importantly, not only what it is, but how can you train yourself to have more of that kind of thought process worldview. Before we get into the interview, let me introduce myself in case you're new here. My name is Jerry Ozier. This is Simply Cyber, the YouTube channel designed to help you make and take a cybersecurity career further, faster. And on this channel, we talk about offensive security, defensive security, home labs, industry stuff, what's going on with SolarWinds, how to improve your resume. So, and really how to be a better professional, right? So that's why we're talking about the mindset today. So if that's interesting to you, check out some of the other videos on the channel. Just to highlight one specific one, we did a live stream with a cybersecurity recruiter recently, Joe Hudson, and he answered basically all of your questions on how to properly feature cybersecurity labs, home labs, skills that you've developed on a resume effectively if you have no work experience. It's awesome. And there's free resume templates, so check that out. But before any of that, if you want to jump around the interview, check out the minute markers below. Otherwise, enjoy it, and let's go talk to Jeremey. All right, Jeremey, thank you so much for being with us today. I've kind of introed a little bit about the security mindset, but before we dig into really what that is and what it means, can you kind of tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So last 8 years or so, I've been working with the DoD on a couple different cyber initiatives, right? Being a lawyer by trade, I come into the cyber sphere with that analytical mindset and have helped them build both operations and compliance, right? And ensuring that data is treated properly, but also that while we're operating, we are doing so in a smart and risk adjudicated way. Right now, that's really complex. Let's just say that we always have our mind on, is the juice worth the squeeze? And in the end, what's the cost benefit, right? Is this too risky to move forward with, or do we, or is it worth pursuing? Right. And so you're always thinking about, how is this going to impact both our people? How is this going to impact our nation? And how is this going to impact our business line or our mission set, right? What are we getting out of this? So, and then, for years before that, I was an attorney and a litigator. I did both prosecution and criminal defense. And so I've really seen the gambit of human experience in the United States and across the globe, right? And because of that, right, it really has helped form my view of how we as cyber pros can make our systems more secure.
Yeah, so your hashtag security mindset is really what caught my eye and led to this conversation. And I really loved it because it's, it seems like you're calling attention to the fact that you can't just, throw money at something or just say it's the way now. You're kind of, I guess, peeling back the onion, if you will. So can you kind of share what your perspective is of that security mindset and what the importance is?
Yeah, absolutely. So the security mindset, it's about culture, it's about philosophy, it's about morals, but it's also about being a realist and a pragmatist about the world around you and your place in it. And from a cyber perspective, from the systems you're protecting, its place in it, right? And it's recognizing that human nature means that people will do bad things. and anyone can die or be injured at any second. We each want to stave that off as long as possible. So the question becomes, what can I as an individual, or what can I as a security pro do about it? How can I not be a victim? And that's the beginning of the security mindset. That's where you start. And I think that really is how you have to approach it, right? That's the security mindset.
Yeah, and I feel, it sounds like you're kind of focusing that security mindset on making cybersecurity professionals better at their job, have better, perspective of the overall scope of what the responsibility is. But, I would go as far to say as that having a security mindset and being able to instill that into the end user population goes a long way into risk reduction, because frankly, that they're the ones touching things. They're the ones who are actually being victimized. No one's really targeting the information security office.
At least we hope not. At least we hope not, right?
Right. Let's just take SolarWinds out of the discussion for a moment. It doesn't work for my argument at this time. So security mindset, it's great perspective for folks trying to get into cybersecurity, which is what a lot of people who are watching this video are likely their current position. So what thoughts do you have for training yourself to have that security mindset to be a more impactful cybersecurity professional?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the first step is situational awareness, right? Being aware of the world around you, right? Whatever you're doing, whether you're walking your dog, whether you're going to the store, whether you're eating at a restaurant, as rare as that is today, whether you're buying something online, whether you're talking with your neighbor, right? It's very important that you are conscious of what is happening around you, and so many people aren't. And I think that really is one of the basic things that you can do is just be aware of what's going on around you. Start with that. Practice it, right? It's not instinctive. For we humans in the society we have today, situational awareness is not instinctive, and that's because convenience has become the modus operandi of the day, right? Everything is convenient, and so we tend to just click through. We tend to, in our daily lives as well as on the web, right? We hit that purchase button on Amazon. We don't think, okay, what could happen with my package en route to my house? Or is this a gray market good, or is it a legitimate branded good, right? And so just being aware of that. That's the start, right? Then I think after you get the situational awareness piece down, or it's consecutively with what's the word I'm looking for? Concomitantly, along with it, right? Stop being the lawyer, Jeremy. Try to brainstorm ways that you can be safer in the physical world. Apply it to your daily life. And as that habit grows, you will begin to apply that to the cybersphere that you're operating in. Al Pacino had a great, I always reference this, in the movie Heat, and I know we're going back in time a little bit, but in the movie Heat, Al Pacino had this great line where he's talking to one of his informants, and he says, "Give me what you got." And the guy says, "Hey, man, I could get killed for telling you this stuff." And Al Pacino, who's the cop, says, "You can get killed walking your doggy," right? And I think that that's true, right? That you could step out the door today and get run over by a Mack truck, and unless you're paying attention, there's really nothing you can do about it, right? So how can I not be a victim? How can I not? I remember when I was a law clerk. I've got great stories along this line. I want to tell two, and one's fairly personal, right? But I think it'll help people learn. And I'll start with that because it's the most impactful, and I don't want people to dwell on it. When I was 5, my mom was watching, I was home with my mom, my dad was at work, and my mom was watching this little boy and little girl of a friend of ours for the day. And me and the little boy, we were playing in the house, and my mom was potty training the little girl, and this gentleman knocked on our door, and he said that his car had broken down and he needed to use a phone. Now, this is the days before cell phones, before even wireless phones, or not mobile phones, but what are cordless phones, right? This is the days when you were tethered to the wall by a nice curly pigtail cord. And she said, okay. And she let him into the kitchen and let him use the phone. And he either made a call or pretended to make a call. And so nobody really thought anything about it. My mom went back to potty training the little girl, and I went back to playing with the little boy we were watching. And this gentleman walked up behind my mom in the bathroom with a knife and tried to rape her. Now, my mom fought her attacker off. Now, but I remember that helped me form my view of the world as a child, right? I was 5 years old, and here's this guy coming into our home under a pretense, an innocuous pretense, and trying to commit an awful, awful, terrible act, right? And I remember thinking some years later, I was just learning how to shoot at that age, and I wish that I had known more so I could have gotten my father's gun and shot him, if I could have even got it, right? Who knows, right? But, being a kid, you think about these things, you're like, man, I would have liked to have done something about it. And so that has had an impact on me. I watch what's going on around me, because you never know when the bad guys are going to show up, right? That's the point. The other story I want to tell is when I was a law clerk, just starting out in the legal profession. I worked as on a case where a young woman was hit by an MTA bus. And it was purely an accident, right? The driver wasn't charged. She was standing at the bus stop, and the driver pulled up to the bus stop, and she got hit by the mirror on the bus, which, if you've seen MTA buses, those mirrors stick out a good 2 feet from the bus. And it knocked her down, and the bus rolled over top of her and killed her. Right. And the witness reports were horrific. Right. But she's standing there, and the reason why she got hit by the mirror is because she wasn't paying attention. She was looking at her smartphone at the time. Right. And so if you're not paying attention to the world around you, you will get caught eventually. Right. And it's all about sheer luck. Right. The bad guy only needs to be right once to take advantage of you. So you always have to be on your game, right? And some people say, well, that's paranoid. Human nature is generally good. And yes, I think most human beings have a will to survive, and they aren't necessarily, they're community based, and so they aren't necessarily out to get you. However, we have to recognize that there are bad people in this world. Right. And that's so I think that's where you start, right, in training your mind by looking at that and saying, okay, now the next thing you can do. I'm sorry, I got off track there a little bit, but get training, right? Get training, get formal training, and also there's plenty of red team opportunities out there to look and watch how guys exploit systems, whether it's physical entry into a facility or whether it's virtual entry into a facility. They put on demonstrations as to how easy it is to pick a lock and how quick a pro can do it. One of the things I talked about in my security series was safes. Well, the whole reason I thought of that topic is because I was in the market for a safe, and I was looking at safes, and I thought, gee, is a safe really secure, or is what people selling me a safe? And so I started looking into it, and I saw that some safes that they market as safes can be cut into with an angle grinder inside of 30 minutes, right? And that most of the weight is not security, it's wallpaper, it's drywall and carpeting to make it fireproof, right? And so then I started researching, well, what about diversity as a form of security? Right? What if I stored my valuables in different places? Yes, a thief might get to one, but he can't get to all of them, right? In the time that he has to do the job that he does. The same thing applies in cybersecurity, right? If all your data is stored in one place, and a ne'er-do-well, a malefactor, a bad guy gets in your system, once he's in, he has all the keys he needs to get to that place. So you're talking about putting locks between you and that place, but also if your data is stored in multiple places and there are security controls on each of those that are different or diverse, then your data is not all at risk at the same time, right? They would have to get through each and every security key in order to get into that system. And depending on where they access the system and what credentials that person had, whether or not they would need to get more credentials, right? That variability is going to keep you safer, right? Now, yes, it comes with some administrative burden, but isn't the administrative burden already a sunk cost? And then I think, so get training, learn how the adversary exploits our weaknesses, both cognitive, process, and lifestyle, right? For the individual, Facebook is a great example, right? You're on Facebook. You have a tenuous connection with the people on Facebook because it's virtual. People tend to advertise more information than they should on Facebook, and that makes it a great way for an adversary to get intelligence about you and exploit that weakness. Oh, they're not home right now. They're at the store. They're at the mechanic. They're going to be there for a while. Good time to break in and steal stuff. All right. People are always watching. I had a friend in Philly who grew up in the hood, area called Mantua. And, I was living in Philly at the time where Philly was experiencing this problem of people, bad guys pulling up to people on the street and forcing them to get in a car and go somewhere with them, right? At gunpoint. And he and I were talking about it. He said, look, there's really nothing you can do if they get the drop on you. But if you have a choice, don't get into the car. Tell them that they're going to shoot you. Shoot me right here. Get it over quick. I don't want to go somewhere with you. Just get it over with, right? Those are the weaknesses. People say, well, if I get in the car and cooperate, maybe they won't kill me. Do you really want to take that risk when your life is on the line, right? Better to know than to guess, right? So always question your assumptions about situations. Even if the wisest, most practiced person in the room says, this is what we need to do, don't be afraid to speak up and say, is that really the best way? Can we look at this another way? Like, I have this idea. Can we change the way we structure how data is accessed in our company instead of applying these rote controls that anybody can go and read and everybody knows, and even the adversary knows, and now they've had a way to study and defeat them? Could we restructure that so that it's a little more chaotic and increases and adds a level of variability, right? Question assumptions, even my assumptions. I want people to challenge me, right? Because by challenging me, it shows me that you're thinking. It shows me that you have situational awareness.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. So, first of all, thank you for that personal story. It definitely conveys the impact of being, situationally aware, regardless of your situation. And I think, there's just a lot to unpack in that. As cybersecurity professionals, I definitely operate more on the paranoid side, which you
can't be in security and not be paranoid.
Yeah, well, I really feel it's part of the reason why I gravitated towards the field in the first place. So it was kind of baked in before I got here. But, so a couple of things to point out. One, I feel like some of the challenges that people might encounter when trying to evangelicize cybersecurity mindsets to improve overall organizational cybersecurity is that oftentimes you hear like, oh, fear, uncertainty, doubt is your selling point. You're trying, InfoSec is a cost center, meaning it doesn't generate revenue for the business. It just costs money for the business. And you want us to invest X amount of dollars. But the trick is it's so difficult right now in cybersecurity to have metrics to demonstrate value of return on investment because you have a negative proposition of if you spend $1 million, then I will potentially stop us from a multi-million-dollar cyber incident from happening. But because the event doesn't happen, does that mean the control worked and it was worth the million, or does it mean that the event wouldn't have happened if you had
Right.
no control? And
Right.
that's the difficult conversation with,
Proving the negative.
yeah, exactly, with leadership, with management, with any business organization, because they invest $100 in marketing, they get $10,000 worth of business. You can see that it was worth it. And this is really the new role of the cybersecurity practitioner, is not just have that security mindset, but be able to convey, really in dollars and cents, what risk you're trying to mitigate and address for the organization. So I wholeheartedly agree, and I feel like you really have to pick and choose your case studies and examples. And I might even point out, and this has been proven time and time again, anybody watching this can Google any company that had a breach a year ago and look at what they've done with their InfoSec staff. Right?
Right. Can I offer some thoughts on that? Because believe it or not, you actually hit upon a niche of mine, I guess, because that's what I do in the community, right? I bridge the gap between the technical, the tactical, the legal, and leadership, right? I help talk everybody through and say, okay, this is how we get on the same page. I think one, that in selling the security mindset or selling cybersecurity to the board, it's all about putting it in terms that they can relate to. Right? If I'm talking to a lawyer, I talk to them in a legal manner because they understand that. If I'm talking to the board, I talk to them in a business manner because they understand that. If I'm talking to the engineers, I try to talk to them in the way that they're most comfortable with from a technical perspective, right? So in terms of selling cybersecurity, one, I question the assumption of whether or not it is a zero return value proposition, right? Yes, you have the problem of proving the negative, but that does not mean that the company cannot use this cybersecurity activity to then generate business or open up new business lines. So I think that's the first. I think the second thing is that if we were able to come up with a cyber balance sheet that you stole from the financial sector essentially and use their terms to create what your cyber picture looks like, right, at present for your company, that it would then be in a format more easily understood by the business arm, right? And I think the other thing is that you have to put security in terms that the board can understand. And that's why the security mindset is important, because you can, by having the security mindset, both at the physical and the cyber layer, you can then do that. You can say, Mr. Chairman, do you lock your door at night? Why do you lock your door at night? Does it provide value to you? Right? What is the value you derive from locking your door? And ask them that question. I think the more you force them, and force is a bad word, the more you encourage them to think about security, cybersecurity, from a physical world perspective, the more successful we will be as cyber pros in making that sale to the board, because now they can relate to it. Now they can understand the concept. They're like, okay, I lock my door at night because I want to feel safe. I live in a building with a doorman because he keeps people out of my building. Right? Well, sir, if we're talking about cybersecurity, wouldn't you want for your business that you rely upon to make profit and a return on investment, wouldn't you want a doorman? Wouldn't you want a door lock? Right? We can provide that. Here's how we provide that. Right? I think the same thing is true for lawyers, right? As a lawyer, I run on this. You go talk to business people, and you're like, oh, you're just being the lawyer, right? The anti-sales department. Well, no. Let's put it this way. If you screw up your contract, you now have put liability on the company, and that liability is going to eat away at your profit margins, right? So you actually gain money by employing a lawyer to help prevent you from screwing up, right? Stay out of jail, right? This is a good thing. Too many people don't want to hear that, right? Unfortunately, and look, bigger picture, the security mindset is a cognitive problem. And it's not the only cognitive problem we have in this country at present, which is why I say it's moral and philosophical and everything, right? I'm a big student and fan of history, right? Uh, Looking at history, you can actually see what's going on in our nation now, right? But we aren't thinking about that. The same thing is true with China, right? China, geopolitical adversary, big issue, big intellectual property theft issue, big territorial strategy issue, right? Who's thinking this through? For too long, we just said, China's harmless. We let them grift off of us and steal our tech and steal our information until finally they started asserting themselves in the world market. And now we're like, oh my God, China's out of the bag. We need to stop it, right? Oh, all hands on deck. And that's not to make light of it. It is a very serious issue. But the problem is, from a cognitive, philosophical, moral perspective, we weren't thinking about, if we allow China to steal our intellectual property, what does that do to us long term?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Too long, everybody's like, just avoid the fight, right? Well, I think we have the same problem in cybersecurity. I really do. Listening to a lot of people talk, I hear people say, oh, well, the board doesn't understand. It's a cost center. I hear people say, we just need these more controls. But I think the problem is that nobody's really thinking about how we approach cybersecurity as a broad, big picture perspective. Right? What is the value proposition in cybersecurity? The value is, I think, you not only avoid problems, but you can also create solutions. You can also preserve value, right? And so I think, the more that we encourage the cognitive level sphere of thinking about security, right, the better the cybersecurity and information security picture will get.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I feel that there has been a movement in the last 5 years as you see CISOs get invited to the board as they become peers of the CIO as opposed to direct reports. And also, for better or worse, all of these events in the news and massive breaches, OPM, Equifax, SolarWinds just last week, they're mainstream news stories. So it's no longer a niche thing that's like, whatever, I don't really care about it because it's not part of my world. It's become, mainstream. So it's definitely, you're able to have those conversations because it feels relatable to the business now in that way. So Jeremey, if people are interested in continuing the conversation with you around security mindset and your thoughts and perspective on that, I know you're quite active on LinkedIn where I connected with you. How would people continue to engage with you and keep the conversation going?
Oh man, so I try to limit myself to one social media instance because I am deathly afraid of social media. Not because I'm afraid of the crowd. I'm afraid of the data privacy issue and putting too much information out there. And I think that mindset has kept me safe, right? Not a victim. But I'm happy to chat with anyone. I think the best way is reach out to me on LinkedIn. Send me a message, post on one of my posts, start an argument with me. I love to be confronted and as long as it's respectful, right? Don't come in there calling me names and everything because I'll delete your post. But
right.
your comments on my post. But
have an intellectual debate, yeah.
Yeah, but actually ask me questions, right? I think the biggest problem that we have is very few people, like I've noticed on the content that I put up, very few people will come out and say, I think you're wrong, and this is why I think you're wrong, and engage me at that level, right? Because I think a lot of people are afraid of looking stupid. You have this whole, I don't want to be the first person in the room to raise my hand, right? And I've never been that guy. I've always been the guy like, oh yeah, I'll call you out. Sure. Let's see where this goes, right?
Yeah.
But I think that that's the best way. And then, by starting a conversation with me there, we can take it further. You can get my email, just like we're doing now, right? We met on LinkedIn. We started chatting, and now we're doing this discussion, right? I think that that's the best way. Build that organic connection, right? Talk with me. I'm a lawyer, right? And so working through problems is just as exciting to me as finding a solution.
Yeah, absolutely. And should people use the hashtag security mindset? I'm not sure if you were trying to own that.
Yeah, no, I mean, go ahead, use it. I think I don't know if somebody had it before I did or not. I just said, oh, I want to use this as my hashtag. So there you go.
Open Commons. Yeah, Open Commons. It's yours now. So, all right.
Hey,
Yeah,
go
thank
ahead.
you so much, Jeremy,
Yeah.
for your time today, and really, really appreciate your thoughts and perspective on this.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. I definitely agree that worldview is critical for helping you be more effective and really understand what risks and vulnerabilities really could exist with systems or applications or even people. So thanks very much to Jeremy, and thank you again. If you enjoyed that content, hit the subscribe button because I put out videos every Monday at noon automatically, and I do random live streams, so you'll get notified if you hit the bell for notifications when I go live. So thank you very much. Leave a comment if you're interested. And until next time, stay secure.